I'd like to welcome everyone here today to New York City, to the W Hotel, for the third National Summit on Student Health and Education. And today we are going to be addressing a very serious problem that afflicts children all over the world. The Surgeon General said that Americans are swimming in an ocean of stress. Well, if that's the case, our children are drowning in it. It's a very serious problem that demands a very substantive solution. 10 years ago, who would have thunk that there'd be a conference like this exploring transcendental meditation as a means to create stress-free schools, as a scientifically proven means to develop the full brain of any individual. But that's the case. And in this summit today, we are going to be hearing from school principals from around the U.S. who've implemented this program as part of what's called Quiet Time. Some of the principals have been doing this, offering it to their students and faculty for 10, 12, 14 years. Some of the principals just started in their schools this past year. So we're going to hear from principals. We're going to hear reports of scientific research that takes the whole notion of meditation out of the realm of something mystical or mysterious and shows transcendental meditation to be an absolutely natural, human beings hardwired to be able to allow the mind to quiet down, take profound rest, and experience an ocean of creativity and intelligence within. Without much further ado, because we have a lot of panelists, each one of them plans to speak 2 or more hours. No, kidding. Russell's ready to go now. We want to begin. The national media, very sensitive to the problem of stress in the classroom, about 5 years ago, featured a school in Detroit where transcendental meditation had been being used for a number of years as part of this quiet time, which I'll explain afterwards. And once we see that 2-minute clip, we'll begin hearing from our principals. So if we're ready to go.
Well, now there's a school in Detroit that's helping students deal with this stress in a unique way. Here's NBC's Kevin Tibbles.
The boisterous kids at Detroit's Nataki Taliba School are really no different than any others, except perhaps for 10 minutes twice a day when all they hear is silence. These students aren't napping, they're meditating. Transcendental meditation was brought to the West 40 years ago by Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, and today it's used in this school as a stress buster.
It's not a religion, it's not a philosophy, it's not a way of life, it's simply a mental technique. It allows the system, the mind and the body to settle down and gain a very, very deep rest.
According to these kids, it helps.
I have a tendency to dwell on things that happened in the past, but when I meditate, then it helps me let them go.
I just pay attention better now.
After meditation, I feel great.
When we think of packing our kids off to school these days, we often worry about the problems. High stress, substance abuse, even violence, things that threaten a child's education. But can 10 minutes of quiet time really make a difference? The research says yes. The University of Michigan followed 140 of the school's 10 to 14-year-olds.
They felt more connected, they felt happier, satisfied, peaceful, calm.
I used to get angry a lot, but now it's like I'm calming down.
And studies show meditating kids actually do better in school than kids who don't.
My grade point average has went up a lot, from a 3.4 to a 3.8. Now I'm doing much better. I've evolved.
At first, in science, I got a B, but now my grade is up to an A.
And when your grades are that good, who cares what your skeptical friends think?
They just think it's the weirdest thing in the world, because my best friend said that they wouldn't be able to sit that still for maybe 3 seconds, but they're just telling us the best thing.
For today, Kevin Tibbles, NBC News, Detroit.
Before we hear from our first speaker, I want to do a quick definition of terms. Then I want to allay two concerns. Okay? Quick definition of terms. When we talk about quiet time, that's where schools introduce at the beginning and at the end of each school day 10 or 15 minutes of just quiet time to allow the children, when they come from whatever homes and home life, to settle down, collect themselves before learning, and at the end of the school day before they go home. A child can do anything quiet during that time. They can nap, they could read, they could pray, they could do anything. Increasingly, more and more schools are offering this transcendental meditation component as something extremely effective to do during that 10 or 15 minute period, where the body really and mind really do quiet down and wake up. What is transcendental meditation? It is not what is it not? It's not a philosophy. It's not a religion. It's not a way of life. What is it? A simple technique that any human being can practice perfectly, as well as any other human being. A 10-year-old child with learning disorder and a PhD in physics. In that process, what happens is the active mind, as you'll hear from Dr. Hagelin, like waves on the surface of an ocean, the active mind has a chance to quiet down to a perfectly calm, settled, wakeful level of our own inner self. That quieting down gives deep rest to the body, removes stress, and wakes up the brain. Two concerns. You may hear this and you may think, gosh, this would be great, but my school could never afford this. Well, the U.S. Committee for Stress-Free Schools, partnering with the David Lynch Foundation, will work with you. Any school that's interested in a program will work with you to fully fund it. And the second point I want to make right at the outset. You may listen to this and you may think, this is interesting, but I don't know that I really believe it. Fine. The great thing about something natural like Transcendental Meditation, the Quiet Time program, everything you hear today, you can be 100% skeptical. It doesn't matter. It's not on the level of superficial like belief. You don't have to believe in gravity, the apple falls. Transcendental meditation, you don't have to believe that it works. It's a human thing. So those were two out of the way. Our first speaker is the woman whose school was featured in this brief 2-minute, actually went on with a wonderful interview with her, and you have her interview in your packet of materials, Carmen Anamdi. Carmen is the founder and principal of the Nataki Taliba Schoolhouse. And Carmen, you can tell she has ascended, retired from that, and you have, yes. And she has served as the chair of the board of the National Charter School Institute and a member of the board of Michigan Association of Public Schools. Her school was awarded the Good Schools Award from the Detroit Skillman Foundation and Detroit's McGregor Fund. Carmen's unique approach to training allowed her in 2007, she was named the Michiganian of the Year for a high-achieving Detroit school and innovative teaching techniques. Everybody here could talk hours about what they've done. We've asked everyone to just give some brief mention, some summary, and then afterwards you can talk with them or there'll be a chance for questions at the end. But would you please do me the honor of giving a very warm welcome to Carmen Anamdi.
Thank you very much. I wanted to try to give you some insight into establishing a TM program because I'm one of the pioneers, I guess, Doc and I, so it takes some doing. So I wanted to share some things with you. We instituted our program in 1996. This was a very big deal because we had been a private school from 1978 until 1995. And so we were just with these parents and teachers and staff members for a little over a year when we brought this program in. Now imagine telling them that you're going to establish a transcendental meditation program. So we have 168 students at that time. We have 450 now, but we had 168 at that time because we were becoming a charter school, a public school that is not a member of the Detroit public school system. We had 168 students, and there were only 8 families that did not sign their children up. We were so surprised, only 8. And the reason they didn't is because they could not believe there was not some religious affiliation with it. That is the biggest deal, is to try to dispel any kinds of ideas about there being any religious affiliation with it. Now, how we did that was, first of all, we went on praising the 8 families that did not sign up. I think I must have sent out 3 newsletters to say how happy I am that they're such secure individuals that they didn't have to undermine the program by trying to convince everybody else they shouldn't have. And that pretty much took care of that. The program was introduced through Bud Liebler, who was the vice president of Daimler Chrysler at the time, the VP of marketing. He and his wife, Nancy Liebler, Nancy being a psychologist, approached me about having the program in our school because they knew I had been meditating since 1973. My husband and I both learned in 73. And they needed somebody who was an administrator who already knew the benefits and who would, and also they needed a program where there wouldn't be a lot of bureaucracy. I just had to talk to my board about it to have it approved. Well, I have a board of 9 members, and 3 of them were meditators. I didn't know that. 3 were meditators. You're like, of course, yes, please, by all means, bring it in. I also didn't know that in the 1970s, there was a Detroit educator, Shirley McNeil, who had introduced the technique to so many teachers that were part of the Detroit public school system. That was very interesting to me. She was not able to get it into the school because of the bureaucracy, but she did, in fact, introduce it to a lot of the teachers. So anyway, we became a meditating school. Now, this was a perfect fit for us because we're kind of off anyway. We don't have any red meat in our lunch program. The teachers, we have no coffee in our school, and everybody's really no coffee. We have herbal teas. We try to think through things and see what kind of human beings we want to have our children to grow up to be. So this was a perfect fit, and we put it under our wellness program, under our wellness curriculum, and that worked really well. Because I found that it was very good to bring it in through physical kinds of things, because everybody makes it into something else. They have to define it on their own if you don't define it. So this came under our wellness program, and we specifically referred to it as Project Focus. And we talked about how important it was to help develop skills in children where they really were able to listen much better, able to comprehend much better, to be more patient, to sit still. All of these things were really important. So we thought if you get a deeper rest, then of course you're able to do all of these things much better, and then you perform much better in school, which was a real hit with the parents. Now, I also found out too that it was very important to make sure that you kept this as academic as possible, because religion is playing a very different role in our society now. I mean, it's almost confrontational. You have to almost have it passed by religious leaders if you're doing anything at all that says meditation in it. In fact, if I had had my way, I would have called it something else so we wouldn't have to deal with that, and it would have gone much smoother. But anyway, meditation is a scary word to people because they associate it with religion. So you have to be very, very careful that you show that this has no connection, which is why it has to be done within an academic context. And the rest has to be related, the rest benefits have to be related to the academic context, so that nobody thinks you're believing in anything, because there is nothing to believe in. It is a physical technique. I also found out that, I also wanted to say that I really didn't have any quote-unquote problems in the school that I was trying to resolve. we're pretty happy group, pretty good parents and teachers. So it really wasn't anything I was trying to resolve. And I'm saying that because I don't want any of you who say, well, we don't have any problems, so we don't really need it. We're just fine. Well, none of us are really just fine. I mean, this society just doesn't have anybody much in it that's just really fine. So I don't want you to think that you don't need to do this because everything's just fine. We're all struggling. We've all got, our phones. Everybody's texting, and you're listening to your beeping and your whatever, and that is all part of stress. You have time restraints, you have responsibilities, you have so many things. And so imagine the children and where they're going. I mean, if this is 2008, can you imagine their world? So why not have them think about this now? All of us wish we had started so long ago knowing there was something else beside just what they tell you. There's another type of rest and another type of internal maintenance that if we had gotten a hold of that much earlier, we would be much further along now. Anyway, I wasn't looking for results I guess that's how I have to put it. I really wasn't looking for results because I knew when my husband and I started in 1973, it was just the best thing that ever happened to us. So I didn't think about, well, I got to prove that this is okay and that it's doing something. In 1974, my husband and I lost our daughter, Nataki Taliba, which is who we named the school after. And we had been meditating a year. We learned in 1973. She died in 1974. And everyone kept coming, and I was pregnant at the time with our son. We had a 2.5-year-old. I was pregnant with our son, and my father-in-law died 3 weeks after our daughter. So needless to say, I was 25, my husband was 28 at the time, and my parents kept saying, you and George are so impressive. What are you doing? I mean, yeah, we were crying, we were out of it. She said, but you're anchored. I can see that you're anchored because we were still trying to figure out what does a 2.5-year-old need from us, and I had to eat and sleep and do everything I was supposed to do because I was carrying a child. Well, after that, my parents meditated, my sister, my husband's 2 brothers, and we, in fact, had 12 of our friends that were instructed in our home. So this was obviously something that everyone else could perceive about us. And we, too, then at that point had to say, yeah, we are functioning. I mean, this is unbelievable. This is the lowest point we've ever been, and we are functioning. So when I instituted it in the school, I did it as though you say, we know that you're taking care of your teeth, brushing them and going to the dentist. We know that you probably have a pretty healthy mouth. So I just wanted this because I just know I want my children at the school to be healthy. And that's really why I instituted it. But what was wonderful was that they all began to tell me stories about how they felt and how they felt so much better and they didn't feel so irritable anymore, when things happen. That is really the true measure of it. And I'm being moved along here, but I just wanted to make sure that you got some of the basis for why we do it. And now that our children have gone on to high school, many of them, and we still introduce it in 5th grade, our high schoolers, when they come back and say, are you still meditating? They go, yeah, I mean, why wouldn't I? So thank you.
Things change, and we're very fortunate to have Russell Simmons here. And before he leaves, in your schedule, we're making an adjustment. He has become, in a few short months, for me, a great person. I sort of have huge respect for Russell Simmons, and I've told him this. Purity of his heart, the goodness of the way he lives his life, and I'm very honored, we're all very honored that he is here today. Just a minute. Russell, I'm ready to introduce you. He'll text. Just want to say that in 2007, USA Today named Russell Simmons.
Thank you, David. Thank you. Thank you, David, for having me here. Thank you all thank you for the explanation of why, we would do this in schools. For me, it's been a transformative process. The quiet time, for me, a couple times a day, it's critical. My nickname is Rush. It's my nickname, right? The name of my company is Rush. And, it doesn't mean, the thing about the quiet time is you want to move in with quiet time. You want to move in silence, too. So a couple of moments of silence a day, give you a chance to reach for that strength Oprah sold tons of books. They're not religious books, but many, millions and millions, 35 million New Earths. There's this thing that it's in all religion. There are no prophets that didn't talk about it. So that this is not a religious experience. This is a experience of the self that each of us, all of us have. We all have it, and we all reach for it. This is a tool so that you can use it. Young people are surrounded by stress, and they won't stop. They are going to have a BlackBerry sooner than you think. And they're going to have the things around them on the outside that could affect them. And what we want to do is insulate them from that struggle. Because, there's this belief that all the things on the outside is small and what's on the inside is what matters. This is a basic belief that all of us have, but we seldom really work on, moving inward. So we have to figure out, a way to get our kids to practice some stillness. I don't know what I can do to put this on you, this pressure, this burden. Not any weight, but there's a burden for all of us to raise our children to be able to operate in this stressful world. So the idea that the world is stressful if you make it is really kind of, I know so many billionaires. Some want to jump out the window now because the money's funny, right? And I know so many people who struggle in poverty and they're really happy, right? So there's this, we're going to learn to be comfortable in our seat. No matter how many seats you have, it says only can sit your ass in but one seat at a time. It's true, right? You can sit in only one seat at a time. And what quiet time is about is teaching kids to be comfortable in their seat. And you've heard so many times that operating from abundance, if you already have everything, if you realize that this second no one in this room needs anything. Not one person can yell, I need you. So the more we can realize it, the better off we are in this world. We become better servants. I recently went to the school that are beneficiaries from our Diamond Empowerment Fund. And I went in the schools, the Transcendental Meditation Institute, the Maharishi Institute. It's in South Africa. It's a free college. And I listened to the testimonials. Now, I know what I get. I know how my life has shifted. I know how my life has been transformed to some degree. I'm still Rush, but I'm Rush less. It's true, I rush less. That's the important thing, So we all want everybody to be less, So I went to the school, and the kids gave their testimonials. And we were pointing out, it wasn't like these 20 kids are going to give you testimonials. No, here's a school full of kids, and we're going to point to anybody you want, and they're going to stand up and tell us their story. And in such a short period of time, these freshmen finishing their freshman year had transformed completely from the struggle and the mindset of poverty that they came from to these great performers in a way in school that they would never have expected. No one could have expected. The school is proof. The students are proof. It's easier for them than for us. I mean, we sit still, 3 minutes later. Well, not 3 minutes. How many of you can sit for 3 minutes? In a short time, you'll be sitting for an hour. But just for 3 minutes, how can we slow the mind down so that we can be productive? So the idea of having a word or repeating it, a mantra, repeating it, it's focus. It teaches us to focus. And the focused experience is the happy experience. That's it, when you don't have the noise. So the idea of reducing the noise is, I don't even know how to explain to you if you don't get it, but it's really, really an important component to a child's education and whoever puts it in their school will be better off for it. So that's, I'm here to tell you, I don't know how else to say it. They're going to all say it different ways. And, that's the thing. They all come, they say it, different countries, different languages. They say the same things over and over again with no deviations, like it's crazy, but then we forget these basic things. This is a basic human, it's more satisfying. Why do you want to sit still instead of, and then you operate from that stillness and you become a better math student and a better, servant and a better, so that's what it is. And kids need it early as possible and they'll take it through their life. Thank you.
Our next speaker, I think all of us would credit with being the father or grandfather of the Quiet Time program in America. Dr. George Rutherford is one of the most beloved principals, educators in Washington, D.C. over the last 42 years. And Dr. Hagelin and David Lynch and myself with the David Lynch Foundation have had the great honor of working with him closely for the last 12 or 14 years. He first introduced the Quiet Time Transcendental Meditation program at the Fletcher Johnson Learning School Learning, in Washington, D.C., public school. And since then, he retired, but as every great educator knows, couldn't stay retired. And now he heads up Washington, D.C.'s Ideal Public Academy Charter School, where hundreds of children meditate. He could talk about his school, but he also serves as the national co-director of the U.S. Committee for Stress-Free Schools. I just asked him to say what's on his mind. So would you please welcome Dr. George Rutherford.
Good afternoon. Let me publicly thank a few people who helped the Fletcher Johnson Educational Center to get started and have since helped me to get the Ideal Academy Public Charter School started. Mr. Jeffrey Averson, Dr. John Hagelin, Bobby Roth, and others. It was the inspiration that I received from the school out in Fairfield that helped push the Fletcher Johnson Educational Center into transcendental meditation. Fletcher Johnson with 1,500 students in Southeast Washington. And the amazing thing, academic achievement went up, attendance went up, and behavior went down. And that was the amazing thing. And most of you are educators. And all of you want the same thing that I wanted and the folks up here want for young people. You are going to get the opportunity today to listen, digest what is being said, and then ask yourself the question, is this what we want for our children? And I tell all educators, you are a change agent, which means that you have to take chances. You take a risk. You step out there. I didn't ask the Board of Education to support me. I did it. You can do the same thing. And this was back in 1993. You can do the same thing. So listen, and if at any time I can help, you can get in touch with me We need to save young people. And with all of the programs, the federal programs that have been out there, I have tried them all. I've been in education not 42, but 44 years. And the way I can keep up with it because I've been married 44 years. Same woman. She also meditates. So I say to you again, please, please listen. And I promise you, you will not be sorry. You will be able to help young people. And with the society we have today, it is most important. And with David Lynch, who is now fully in partnership with the Ideal Academy Public Charter School, without David, I would not have the finances to get my school into Transcendental Meditation. Every student, grades 6 through 12, is meditating. All of the teachers except one. And every morning, the boys go in their area and the girls go in their area. And we are in inner city. 83% of my students are on free or reduced lunch. We are full Title I school. So you can do the same thing. I'm not magical. You can do the same thing if you are concerned about young people. So please listen, go back, and get it started. Thank you.
Before we hear Dr. Hagelin, I just want to make a point. When the Quiet Time Transcendental Meditation program is taught, if a school is interested, this is a technique that is taught one-to-one from a trained teacher to a student individually or a faculty member. It takes about an hour to learn the first step, and then there's meetings, 3 consecutive meetings of about an hour each, and the student or the teacher owns it. It's not something that we get good at after a long period of time because it's human nature. It's who we are, this ability to transcend. So I just wanted to make that point, and we also provide a very complete follow-up mentoring program to ensure that the children are gaining maximum benefits. We are extremely fortunate to have our next speaker because the reason why Transcendental Meditation is part of Quiet Time programs all over the world now is not just because teachers say it works, is because objective scientists, medical doctors have spent the last 35 years documenting in very minute detail all of the profound changes that take place with an individual student or teacher. The one individual in the world today who has been at the forefront of that breakthrough of scientific research on meditation, on transcendental meditation, is Dr. John Hagelin. Dr. Hagelin serves as the president of the David Lynch Foundation. He's also a really great scientist. I'll read. Dr. Hagelin is a world-renowned Harvard-trained quantum physicist, a lifelong educator, author, science and public policy expert, chair of the Center for Leadership Performance, and as I said, president of the David Lynch Foundation for Consciousness-Based Education and World Peace. Dr. Hagelin has conducted pioneering research at the European Center for Particle Physics and the Stanford Linear Accelerator Center, and is responsible for the development of a highly successful grand unified field theory based on the superstring. Dr. Hagelin has spent much of the past quarter century leading a scientific investigation into the foundations of human consciousness, and is one of the world's most preeminent scientists, researchers on the effects of meditation on education and brain development. In recognition of his outstanding achievements, Dr. Hagelin was named winner of the prestigious Kilby Award, which recognizes scientists who have made major contributions to society through their applied research in the fields of science and technology. The award recognized Dr. Hagelin as a, quote, scientist in the tradition of Einstein, Jeans, Bohr, and Eddington. We will now sit back and have a nice science lesson, and then I'll turn this meeting over to Dr. Hagelin.
Thank you very much, Bobby. Thanks to all of you very much for being here. Thanks to our wonderful and dedicated panelists. I'm going to focus my remarks today on transcendental meditation, which is the most popular and successful component of the Quiet Time program. Despite its time-honored tradition, meditation, frankly, has remained somewhat mysterious in this modern age. But the latest advances in physics, physiology, and neuroscience shed fundamental light, finally, on what meditation is, indeed what consciousness is. And I'm going to invest about a minute and a half at the beginning of my remarks to explain from a scientific perspective fundamentally what meditation is, and then share some practical research on its particular benefits. According to modern science, the universe is superficially complex, superficially diverse, but fundamentally simple, fundamentally unified. That modern science has probed deeper levels of nature, from surface diversity to the world of the atom, to the world of the nucleus, to the subnuclear worlds of electroweak unification and grand unification, for which Nobel Prizes have recently been awarded, to the culmination, to the discovery of what is called the unified field. Shown on that chart, this shows the superficially complex universe fundamentally unified. The discovery of this unified field at the basis of this chart fulfills to reveal the diversified universe. Reveals the presence of this universe or ocean of existing particles and forces that uphold. From this proceed, fundamentally what meditation? Meditation stood and properly practiced. Technique to draw the within. Quieter levels of thought. Deeper levels of human. And that corresponds to the experience levels of intelligence. So the awareness truly and powerfully within quieter levels of mind in the symptom of human awareness. It's maximally expanded still. Identifies with the, and that is meditation, somatic technique to expand field, at the basis of. Now, this neurophysiologist considered to be a fourth, a state of restness. Different from sleeping because completely still, and the body gains deeper than sleep. Very deep state of relaxation, of meditation, because the mind happens very quickly. Logical technique to take deep rest, very far-reaching. According to this now, that have been leading medical for 250 independent world, we reductions in every of disease. Simple program of including 87%, for example. 600 studies show physical benefits from this technique. The basic reason is that, so we have to believe it, about 90% of caused or if they're to dissolve, accumulate, have wide-ranging of disease. Important. Meta-analysis of 140 studies on the meditation techniques and on reducing stress. So stress on brain function. The top magnitude of the effect is and as you can perhaps effective as any other studied to reduce. Also, researcher are things like relaxation response, mindfulness meditation, and finally at the bottom of this. And as you can see, provides no relax dynamically. The point here is not to. The point is to settle down and naturally express restful alertness. That is what has such power on health. And as we'll see, I do want to show one last of health and leave the great medical doctor a few minutes, because it's a very important metabolic syndrome called the modern epidemic afflicting well as adults. Metabolic syndrome is the high blood pressure, obesity. In the medical literature, proves blood pressure and obesity for transcendental meditation. The AMA, believe Internal Archives of Internal Medicine, thought the AMA acted about it, that they released in thousands on this extraordinary intervention to metabolic syndrome. And 16 years, 18, already have signs of diabetes, obesity, for health, for lower. Now, the only thing that's been found scientifically, all those symptoms. For the moment, I just benefits that I've only alluded to of what is really a mental technique. Mentally happening, what is so exciting is what's happening in the mind. In the next modern, like the EEG, electro-EEG, and SPECT, and PET, and functional MRI, on in the brain experience and transformation. And the chart shows, by the way, the top brain. And the difference is on the left-hand side, a subject, an ordinary, stressed, waking. Now, there are little dots indicate the position of electroronal firings. In this chart, occasionally there are buffering points on the brain. It means that those are communicating. They're related way. But in ordinary, on the left, there's not much in the brain, not much coherence. The brain is very scattered fashion. On the right-hand side, 3 months later, practicing the transcendental meditation, this meditative state, this of consciousness, which your brain is, you could say, coherence. That means the whole in concert, integrated and coherence of brain. The difference is like a symphony, Frank. Conductor arrives, or warming up and music, you get a cocoon. That's frankly seeing your own EEG. There's no obvious intelligence in it. But in the meditative state, orderliness of brain function arrives and raises on, and suddenly that chaos-ing music, the brain functioning in constant, orderly way. That's a breakthrough. Because orderly brain function correlates with intelligence, rising, create academic performance, moral reason, emotional, mature, psychological stability, reaction time, everything brain depends on it. So today, with this tool, systematically increase the order, and in any student, indeed, it's extremely simple. You would expect the orderliness of brain to see the intelligence rise, which is one of at least affirming IQ in students who meditate or college level and increases. That is an educational tool. One slide that shows too often. Next slide, please. Of this experience. And what you see this is the brain as revealed by what's called technology. And on the right-hand side, the student with holes. Now, these are gray matter, but they are parts of the firing, in our moment-by-moment holes. Also see on the right-hand side these holes in the cortex. At the top of that chart, the prefrontal cortex here by the so-called CEO or executive center, so-called the higher brain, over the rest of the brain, and it's our rational, aggressive, impulsive, unforced the prefrontal cortex, and under which can pervade some of our class of the world, maybe even under the prefrontal cortex chronically. And if it doesn't develop by the age, it doesn't develop at all. Adolescence, the school years for the development of the, and under stress, development is retarded. In fact, ADHD, this inability to, this impulsivity, is just the result of the critical prefrontal cortex. Now, this can be meditation reverses, dissolves deep, and we've also seen it direct prefrontal cortex in the integrating the prefrontal cortex. So imagine having a technique that provides this very and simply restore and coherent. What would you expect to see from our incredible these theoretical arguments benefits in the class of academic performance to student happiness? And we're going to innovators in the field already have who can, whatever they can, allow them to excel. It's very, very competitive. And our first is the of the visitation value. Less than 2 years, nobody was meditating. Heard of the meditation program. Visitation went to this in Palo Alto, ordered to their principal, Mr. Jim Hurd, and after some discussion, investigation, they decided to. We're going to be hearing from it, but before we do, a couple of minutes of a document made on the Implement TM program, Visitation Valley. Watch that, please.
We're in a very high, a lot of hood. We have so many children and their families that grief counseling on site, stress disorder counseling was reputed to be both, and we'd really done for students But we hadn't gotten into a plan as well. And help with burn, help with stress problems, and so I said, let's get some folks to go over what it's about.
The thing you have to remember that I'm Irish. Will basically disbelieve till I see it, and so when it I am willing, but could possibly work. Students 12, 13 quietly, not seeing is believing. It's amazing.
When I learned it, because it's deeper than that. It makes you feel better, makes you more energy, all your stress.
Very wild, like supposed to be.
But it's like better than it normally is, and you can't hear anything.
Now I like when I want to do my work, I get to do my work. Somebody telling me to do my work.
There was one time I felt that I felt overstressed. Then the crew teachers, we come together do meditation during. And I actually look forward. I put my stuff away, collecting all the teachers. After that 20 minutes, I'm ready to go at work. So comment, what's going on with me? I'm not, and also, doing great, going to the gym. After work, used to get home, I just have a meal, go to bed, and I get home, have a snack, and then go of energy and life.
Jim Durkee is the principal in San Francisco University. He was awarded National Middle Level by the National Association of School Principals. More pages here. The year was based on his climate, building teams, and collaborating with community. Durkee has and the students to develop a ownership and pride in the Cisco Chronicle called Envy in a Sea of Trouble. As you'll hear, gives a turnaround to the qualification program.
Everyone, and greetings. My remarks, I just want to comment that owned by itself to open the doors and lock things up by 4. Those are the old 2 days. We need partners from the community to help us do, because it takes a village to raise a child. Moment to thank Lynch and his TM Warriors working hard. Public groups coming to help. David, thank you. You are the education background, although I worked in an upper middle school before I arrived at location, so I in public education needed. What brings to that would fit in most is that you have control over some of reduced stress. Ready today, things for the students. They're very on the staff. Only the principal gets a desk. So at the door with at the top of their lungs saying, if I'm going to, excuse me, Jim, I'd like to sit down at Burns. And that's a big deal. High stress level that's good because of this. Idea with the faculty where we had people taking Monday and every other Tuesday. We all know that for their own school. Now can write on the any days 100. Everybody's here. Development or they had a profound effect on the way for their own. And I don't know if you realize this, but according to a recent study, for 8 on the stress list, emerging teachers are, I don't know who they're right after. So there's a lot of stress in our jobs, a lot of ways that reduce that stress. So but getting back to the kids, just a tremendous school. And there's been 24 murders in my neighborhood. I have suffering from post-traumatic, but the activity has brought something to them, and all of them have 20% of my special education, a foreign language, and 5% of them level. So Title I's doing things, and we're moving. We just say in closing, because I've seen all these good things, and they're one buddy, is if you feel the urge administrator to start something, and you want to take the leap of, I'll remember that from know what that means. You have to take that leap. This is one that information to back it up. Your biggest problems are mentioned dealing with the pain, but that's nothing new. That's the benefit, and you know, to see smiles on kids, on teachers' faces, happier. So enjoy your talk. Thank you once again, David.
Thank you, Jim, especially for the incredible leadership. Now it's truly introduce a great hero, Sir David Lynch. Film and television, Twin Peaks fame and Inland Empire and Blue Velvet. He's a photographer, and he's also of the David Lynch Foundation Education and World Peace. Millions of dollars, 50,000 students, United States and throughout the world. Quiet time, transcendent. David has to give his insights on a number that I think are options, and if you don't mind joining, pepper you with a few questions. You have visited Dr. Rutherford, B.C., Cartwright, and Jim Dursko. What did you impress you the most, like visiting these schools?
Thank you, Dr. Hayul. It's great to be here. We're trying to go quickly. He just said, that sounds, thing before transcendental meditation. Teachers, school. Dr. Rain, happy student school, happy to and fro, unbelievable. And where from? And his little brother's talking about in the world is coming up with it. And Rishi's phrase he used when talking about transcendental meditation: water the root, the fruit. Water that root, get it from the deep. If students are like leaves, are turning yellows, are drooping, at a time on the trying to fix this, even don't work at one leaf green, we turn around and brown. They say doesn't. Of course they're turning brown. Gets the water to the root, the nourishment from Dr. John Hagelin talked the deepest level, pure, vibrant business. Every one of us has the same amount. It's tied to intelligence, happiness, peace. How would we get more with a small amount of? Don't give that chance to the mental technique. You get a mantric sound, vibrations, the awareness 100 within. Out for this time, within, and one naturally does the mind and intellect, boom, experience pure consciousness. At that, intelligence exists, creativity, infinite universal love, infinite dynamic. You truly experience and you grow whatever you had. Of expansion of consciousness, negativity happens to every human. Sorrow, depravity, stress, hate begin to lift away and live in and with all these positive, that ball of consciousness is a beautiful, happens from within, a temporary band-aid from within. This technique to dive within are unfolding their full potential. Very beautiful. I think I might have burned up my time. Okay. Well.
I'm not letting you off that easily. You've been traveling a lot for the past 4 years, 20 countries, the students on dozens of colleges. How has the response, do you meet a lot of resistance warming up to the idea?
The day is coming when it will be not to be doing. Now, much more years ago, a lot more than it is. But those misunderstandings you heard, it is not against mental technique that the deepest level, and a story, 2 girls, machine, and start their transcendental meditation, and their recording is going along and together, and one of the girls' meditation, I'm sure there's no transcending, beautiful meditation, they both transcended equal number of times, equal of life. It works. You can't there, but this technique, so many different things. And when they get this experience of transcending, unique, they say, wait a minute, this experience been, and changes in their life. They say experience, all avenue. They're much better. My would be give students and watch things, huge positive results. Every one of the students.
Thank you, David. You've been not someone who seeks his privacy and yet around the world give the experience of one's inner quiet thousands and thousands of people. We're going to hear just a short benefits of transcendental meditation. Of this area, Dr. D, PhD, is a neurological associate professor of neurology at New York University. The Albert H. Medical Society of New York, Stevens is a clinical teacher improving health education. Kaplan is also a leading medical on the health benefits program for students and adults.
Dr. Hagelin, and I come here today as not, I have a regular medicine. The boundary and regular allopathy less and less distinct, realizing that this is what works. As I'd like to tell you that it works. It's a technique that I've been... so let's figure out how long that is. 30. And I can tell you from my own experience of patients that I've had for whom I've recommended, why does it work? You see, the mind and body, we understand that more now. So what goes on in the mind has a very profound biology. Influence is on, as Dr. Hagelin showed, in patients, thinking as a doctor, in people, patient technique, function of the nervous system, where one hemisphere and the thing more in together, and the front part of the brain together. So it's a thing that on the level of the physiology, even in some ways more profound sleep. And this was what makes it such a unique of mental clarity, called pure awareness, any kind of level of alertness, that state consciousness. Mind and body are so intimately related of transcending, to throw off those accumulating the original holistic to the mind. Why? Because of the physiology, all aspects improve at once. Some sort of pipe dream, I think it's... No, we know because peer-reviewed studies that have been published throughout the world, that technique. What's the most common, even as a neurologist? High blood pressure of a new patient comes into it is rampant throughout our society. And the most impressive result of health in the transcendental meditation, reduction in high blood pressure. And this occurs who are naive to a few months. We notice normalization occurs in our... We see a lot of students, a lot of just beginning patients, just within a blood pressure. Dr. Hagelin, which is a combination of high blood pressure and triglycerides, blood sugar goes up, abdominal obesity, very common by the transcendental meditation technique. Interesting that such a simple because the mind and body are so intimate effect on health. The result is decrease doctors' illnesses overall, and this reflects in the teacher. So how long it takes to introduce it to your student, for yourself, for your own.
Doing now, very briefly, is a range of benefits. A program like this, to a few more practical steps. Not in your packets, subsequent meetings or follow details about in implementing. Moving on, Weaver, Hartford, Connecticut is an area high crime, violence. Like Jim, several representatives attended a stress-free schools effort, and in prep school adopted the program. Today, 500 teachers have learned to quiet the Weaver High School. To begin with brief on the school's quiet time program, Dr. Rochelle Jones, Weaver, and two wonderful travel down here today. So if we could start that video.
We have about 1,399.9%. We have to us 2-3 behind, so the gang presence doesn't. But the kids who make it, they sign fields that are placed in here, So we are obligated to try to education possible. I sense a peacefulness that to staff and students, a peaceful is flowing throughout the building. Every religion, it has nothing to do with. I would be a fool, at least if it's something that could, Lord knows.
It could really relax, more calm, and get ready for any activity.
For TM, tense and like, I don't want to be in video games. But now I'm like, yes, I'm ready to play my video games. I'm loose, ready to rock and roll to go to school.
Came last year, very angry. And he'll say, miss, I need to meditate. I'll give him his quiet room. It's been suspended once.
Game day, where we were playing, tremendous headache. But then I meditated for about leaving and refreshed. And at the end of the game I've ever played, he said, I think. I said to him, I think. And ever since then, all state, all conference, team to a 9-2 season.
Here's Dr. Rochelle Bull of Weaver. Dr. Jones has been an educator. She has served as a education teacher And in 2002, education from Harvard, served as assistant principal of Weaver since 2000. Dr. Jones has been very in the implementation of the quality program at Weaver. Welcome.
Good afternoon. It is indeed an honor and to have this opportunity. I know if you read where the gentleman that was on the tired and Mr. Darrell brought that position, who was an emergency came up. So yes, he asked me and he sent these to all of you. I just want to let you know that indeed an honor and a pleasure, Mr. Lynch, for Weaver. It has been a blessing. And while I just want to say, I was one of those naysayers. I'm a Southern foot washing back. You start talking about religion, you say, oh, no, happen. So when I said, I don't think Lynn would come back to me and cry. I don't think. Well, let me do some research, transcendental meditation research. So I got on the phone counseling, son. So he said, Mom, I'm starting this new program, meditation, and the mantra. You don't have anything to worry about. It's just, and you're getting connection. I said, you sure about that, son? So when my son, I went on and I get up 30 minutes, myself an extra 30 minutes to meditate. And the kids, and I have some energy, but it gives me more energy. I think I'm everywhere, every time. But it gives me a lot of focus and less stress here at Weaver High School. But learn to focus program. Last year we had 4 academies, Mr. Burke's Academy, and they saw English scores were going up, science, and I was in charge of the health career. Well, you better give me some of that too. So I'm proud to say that our performance school 100% relaunch. We have what is called a state test, the CAP, this year for we improved our writing this year too, because I think this is the 3rd year they've been there. The scores were better than any school. It's about that it worked. We've seen lessons. I one lady, one of my cheerleaders, and we caught her, and she and her friend, there was, and said, okay. And so I said, okay, 2 days in training. We'll do meditation. Very reluctant. Called me in the cafeteria the other, Dr. Jones, that you've ever suggested to me. That lets you know when you have kids that they appreciate what you have that time. We do it 10 minutes doing homeroom, minutes just before the last period, that they can prepare in the morning, release the tension, because it's their thing. And I hate to tell you, it's not the first thing. Is, get indulgent. They had the West Indian shootings within. So to have disintegrate or those going on, and they have the homes, they don't have that up down and focus. So we allow that to go back home. So I just want to say the kids are becoming more relaxed, more energized to be in. And thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jones. School programs are accompanied. It's not learn a whole lot in years of research meditation program. Strength and support to the parents, the teachers, the community decisions. These benefits coming out of these schools. And coming out of the Weaver School, just really nice results. I hope if the slide is. We have Town Unified School in Pine Ridge. Combine these into a study of statistical significance. Collaboration of the University of State University Management on, again, 400 students. Just show them. What we see is a very reduction in anxiety. There have been hundreds of studies, transcendental meditation published again and again every time. Children, I think, is particularly interesting. Stress has a health and brain function. Marked reduction in stress. Again, a statistically significant quiet time program. Reduced highly statistical expression in the student. 20% of teens today with depression. Hyperactivity, significant reductions. Dale Goodman's hyperactivity scale. More about this very important ADHD and hyper by world-renowned researcher Serena Grosswald. But let's hear directly standing students, beginning with Joseph is a senior at Weaver's football team or track teams, Urban Hope Refuge. Joseph and Ting at Hofstra or St.
Everybody, Before I begin by thanking the David Lynch to my share my personal experience. When I'm chaos, my little cousin is fighting, and I have to make school, which isn't exactly a place in the world. Fight even broke out in the breakfast room. Then it's time for homeroom. Finally, it's time for quiet. Now my mind is back. Think clearly again. Do whatever it is that I have to do. Concentration is what I need. It was my attitude, my to do things. And TM situations, get concentrated. After school practice, people getting that adrenaline pumping, tense environment. Go home in the same state of mind I feel the way that I am at football person, and I feel my family should ever have to see me. Football practice to avoid this. It calms me down and return. Still notice that TM has helped me in my sophomore year in track. I threw feet 6 inches. After I learned TM, became a technique to throw a shot put. So I had more energy to train harder and 8 feet 9 inches as an all-conference shot putter. The quiet time TM technique, the amount of craziness and violence, it's a big help on students for them to suspend, which I'm sure they don't like doing. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jeff. Really great. Remind me not to really practice. Student guest is who is also where she is now running for president of the class, co-president of the national, a 3-season varsity of her high school newspaper. Angela plans to study political science and communications at either college or one of the universities, who I'm sure to have her. Angela.
Good afternoon, everybody. I hope giving a special because you made this Dr. for that. I learned transcendental meditation when it was first implemented At first, I was apprehensive many times before I had learned for interrupting and shortening. However, recommendation after receiving and it was give meditation was that it was easy for a toddler to perform. Belongs to few of the world. To me, writes this clarity. It feels like mental burdens. Furthermore, to concentrate before thinking about one thing while doing it. Meditation has increased my efficiency best in all of my activity, Dr. Hagelin, and I wouldn't want to bore you with. So, I sincerely enjoy the state of mind. It allows me to think that I can really do and not feel overwhelmed. I predicted the impact that TM would attend. 4 minutes, TM at my school. Announcements. I go and rush to the room where it did. My soul automatic as I take my seat among for meditation because of the noise. I sit and listen. Kaplan tells me to close the rooms, amplify. Kaplan tells me to, just booming at that point. I just had, I enter a realm of peacefully, the distractions and trouble, and I am one with the room of mental salvation. I laughed at one of my best teachers because he said that practice by the entire school would no longer be marked by it. The 3 years since transcendental meditation, I see his prediction is becoming a more harmful place, and I attest adopting and regularly practicing the meditation technique. I hope that all students are meditation technique. As a student, if others, they would not be as stressed with their work. It's likely to be weighed down with the think through the tribute. As said by Christian philosopher Pascal, clarity of passion too. Great and clear mind loves distinctly what it loves, and allows the practitioners to deeply think actively. I'd like to especially thank once again Russell Simmons providing the opportunity for Joseph Digital Meditation Experiences audience. Thank you.
Thank you so much. At this point, we have 3 incredibly powerful. Was told to announce the education.org. There are answers to all manner about meditation in the Associated Research. TM The Quiet Meditation program is becoming. This can be seen very positive television show about the program. Award-winning national PBS. The contrary program about how the TM Tech to help students with ADA learning disorders. Minutes of that show, and then hear from on the effects of meditation. Could we see a couple minutes of that, please?
Or meditation for disease control. More than 10 children are diagnosed with hyperactivity disorder. Use of psychotropic is controversial. Transcendental med can help some young people without medication.
It's a break during class, a break so we can not continuing on.
It kind of relaxed and angry.
Said I get a lot of stuff off my mom.
And Hamid all have attend Kingsbury Day, a school for children with disabilities. Every Kingsbury stop for gentle meditation. Researchers are finding do more than just relax, actually decrease of ADHD.
They're having difficulty concentrating to start with, and TM is the require that they focus in any way. So it's
after 3 months, 53% of students reported feeling less anxious and depressed, reported improved. Some students also, and problem solving. Josh, ADHD in grade.
Diagnosed today, but I'm a psychology student, pretty much your ADHD case.
He believes ADHD.
I was on the med up through the spring of junior. Within 3 months, a doctor, and had ADHD and came off the medication within the next, fully adjusted 2 to 3 months.
Dr. Serena Gross, cognitive learning specialist, researcher on ADHD and meditation on learning. Serena is also Oswald & Associates, a consultation in Arlington, Virginia, Director of Continuing Medical Women's Association, Director for a break on the effects of transcendental meditation and other learning disorders. Please, Oswald.
It's really a pleasure to be here. It's really dedicating their lives, the lives of children. It's also, after seeing the students, their representation of the transcendental meditation, a bit about the research that what we see with on the feature, children have been diagnosed or die between age 4 and 7 ADHD, and of them are on medication. And these are very powerful medications, and 60% continue into adulthood. ADHD is among chronic disorders of childhood become pervasive. The medicine given for ADHD, amphetamines, effects of those drugs are significant. 3.5 or 4 about this is how serious this. Now the FDA requires blood medications, include mood, insomnia, and then the medication for these. And many of those drugs are FDA for children. So the next are on cocktails of powerful drugs, as we mentioned, amphetamines. They're so these side effects is what led me to do on TM and ADHD. And that research was about just to see could these kids, because getting to be able to sit down quiet is extremely difficult. And yes, they could do it. Slide shows the result of the study, which was not done on the program. Research was done. And what we saw was 50 to 53% stress. That perception of ADHD. Understand the degree to which underlying factor. These children are under stress because many of them have. But stress is not right there and then their test, that sort of thing. But childhood from their circumstance happens to be. And children coping with their own stress. They don't stress. What we found was settle down. And not only that, the silence of the first time. What we found was to settle down and to throw off stress. A cascade of other kids when were able to focus memory. They had better ability to anger, to initiate on their own, their cognitive assessment of their performance with tests that were used. Almost 20% increase executive functioning and their problem solving ability. Have these children practice TM? We didn't. We were in another school, in the school that was VS feature. And we had children that learned and children. And what we saw, if we can see, has been the effects on the brain. As you can see the top, the group that learned TM, the bottom group, the amount of increase with the eyes open. Meditating for 3 months, this is before they 3 months later. Wild task. And then quickly is measure of the attention of the EEG. At the bottom line is a group that had been practicing the control group within 3 months, which is the amount of in focus, and then at 6 their attention and focus fade into the normal range twice a day, practicing the training. So as I mentioned, there's been increased effects of the drugs, and in fact, the British Medical indicated that drugs for ADHD should be the last. Now the need for some more and more. It's an opportunity for these students to expand their own awareness cortex so that they can use. So just not for students under stress, but problems with their attention, focus, and behavior. So consider this in your schools.
might be such a simple treating ADHD and preventing. Very, very inspiring. Hope it would bring a huge amount of parents throughout the country. Some brief remarks. The success at the primary school in Steamboat Spillane is the founder, is also commissioner on Accredited Association of Independent Schools, president of the Association of Colorado Schools, as well as a teacher of language arts and English.
Well, speaking of, I have owned myself for a little more and at my school for 1 year. I saw the MB today and I saw it, thought, I need to look into, I've been a teacher and I thought, do this, or if I didn't look into this service to I was a little worried because board of directors and you're answering to parents. And that film clip, and then they saw Maharishi, and they, and I thought, okay, this is going to be, and I went to my staff, said, this confirms it. And as it turned out, and Teaneck with this thought, there are 10 minutes. All your teachers know minutes. It's 5 minutes in room. It's 10 minutes, and then it's another 5 minutes doing before or to get to. So everyone was, how do we find the time to going to cut? And you think that'd be a problem in your 40 minutes here. Your actuality is not 10 minutes afternoon. It is, in my school anyway, was we had a couple of minutes, about 5, and now for anything in the world. Concentrate, there's concentration, there's a high tension, and they feel, and the children's learn both benefit. And the staff, when children are going to meditate, then they really freak. But what we, as a part of their, and we said you can take it, but our school is a very good, if you leave it, if you are a person, then you are going to, during meditation, someone in the office. So we all meditate. Board members being trained, and quite a few parents have, have Dr. Hagelin started this, being an independent, we are walking in the door, walking us with a microscope, concerned about what will now the neighbors want, and you too can have a team of people here. No reason for you schools and start this.
So much, Nancy. And by speaker, very interesting, a few minutes of a video from Brazil. He is dedicated to the Well Statement. He has been traveling throughout the world on the invitation of his and foundation. Just recently returned where this film was made for schools, very poor in Horizonte. So we could see a few 3,000 kids, and then we'll introduce the last speaker.
The reason for the trip is to talk about dental meditation, stress, students and human beings. This very easy, supreme, blissful of diving within deepest level of life.
Comecei a falar, tenho melhorado bastante, chorando, estava sempre sozinha, percebendo que os meus amigos, graças à meditação, assim, reorganizar todos os.
Aqui nós ensinamos aula o professor para que depois a gente fique em silêncio, que é aqueles que meditam, meditando.
De aprendizado, de melhora em trabalhar com a mente do ser humano. Eu acho que aqui na escola, meninos vêm de uma agitação de vida, de família, difíceis. A meditação vai ajudando um pouco.
Eu parei, agora eu me relaciono. Minha mãe até notou, minha mãe é anti-agressiva. Ela até me elogiou por me ter feito até isso.
Parece que tudo mesmo passa assim, a discussão, por causa que as carteiras mexem.
Olá todo mundo.
group meditation, and those kids, I'm feeling of a lot of children. It was beautiful.
As I introduce our last guys, sincerely to speaker, who we're going to be ejected from this. His name is Laurent Vallis. He is perhaps the most implementing transcendental meditation and a great transcendental meditation on brain. I'd like Laurent to stand because I want to warm him at the end you might have on how to get implementing a program like this in your. Like Dr. Jordan, 24-hour-a-day, will have him give you also. Our final speaker is Dr. Physicist. He is a lifelong educator, international programs for the Committee for Strength. Dr. Dean's recently retired years as the director of Maharshi School, 12th grade, in students and teachers practice technique as part of their curriculum. Graduates 10 times of National Merit Scholar, has seen 95% of four-year colleges through 12 top 1% of the nation tests of educational achievement. The school exams and offers virtually anyone who applied and still achieved results. Dr. Ashton.
To talk to you today, it was that Dr. Rutherford, he said, I saw Happy Dad in Washington, D.C. about 5 years ago, school, and he said that as long as our theater group, and he said that Nightmare was coming from Hollywood. After he'd seen, but he did until the end because he'd never won with such presence, such timing, such incredible joie de vivre. And could I have the first offering this now for 34 years? The stress level years ago, and what you see are. Next slide, please. For example, if you see a student's son or daughter to go to height, say, well, why are you doing nothing? I mean, this looks like the thing that you could possibly indulge in. Scientists have told us today is that experience of inner silence is because if we want our children, you want them to do more mathematics, we want them to go to college, but each of these only develops of the brain. Day to develop the whole. Add this to the curriculums are enlivening and then the mathematics teacher went up. The English teacher, everyone's saying our scores went. What you've got is brain, and that makes a big difference. Students are half asleep, and fantastic a teacher you are, much in. When they're fully, they take in everything. We have at our school is this incredible World Championship Nation team. The Destination Imagination is in competition. Our ships 4 times have won the World Championship for education of creativity. It's something that bubbles up spontaneously. Next slide. Around the world, this is Jim Francisco, where students are now getting into that creativity. Now we see us in students practicing the research. There was attention showing that they're blessing in school. Next slide, please. In the United Kingdom, we just had fast in Northern Ireland, school in Belfast. You can imagine the students there, they took, and now the tension has gone down. Here, Australia, here's a school. Next slide. A college in Trinidad, about 300 students. Slide, please. Here we have education. David Lynch has been all over the world. Next we see in Ecuador. Next slide, please. Here is last 2 years. Foundation has funded 1,000 students in South America time program and complete. And so now we're witnessing where everywhere you're going about education. Britain thinking of it because the British system isn't working, is creating riots in the... It just, everywhere, everybody else to try and suck, and the answer is, as Dr. 2 years, nothing works. To actually make, because it doesn't really matter. School that focuses more on art, so that what you need to do, total creative potential in every single school. We can now thank David for teaching the world that the world is bright. Right. Thank you.
Has done incredible work. Example, he says consciousness-based, and simply there's nothing else worldwide to add to any school curriculum. 20 minutes, or as much as practically pointed out, education, the full potential of behavior. And if studying physics lights up this, literature, music, developing small fragments of the brain, if 40 minutes to engage the brain and unlock the potential of every student, that would be revolutionary. And that's what we're witnessing. A quiet, in the field of education, everywhere in the future a tool to creative genius of the country and in the world. To close now, and it might be worth taking a moment, points, perhaps Bob Roth, very quickly to let anybody who would like to know more take even the first step introducing this program. I thank you very, very much today, and I'd like to introduce Bob Roth with some practical.
Which you wonderful materials, science, bibliography, been published, relevant. I want to point out is this piece of paper. It says what's next. How do you act? How do you go time transcendental meditation? What are the mechanics? Be funded. How do you for funding from the Lynch Family? Also partnering foundations and philanthropists has been doing partnering with philanthropists. Conclude by seeing if David to say. David?
We don't exist, we wouldn't know. I amness of life. We say I am consciousness. Everybody has the same amount. Potential of the human being is infinite. Full potential of the human enlightenment. And education should hold potential. So water the, enjoy the fruit very much.